Welcome to my social media feed, also known as the club of early risers leading 3 businesses at once, of course, having 2 daily workouts and raising 7 kids. I'm pretty sure that you have seen those motivational quotes and routine videos all around the internet, and those are meant to inspire you to push through today and overthrow the world as soon as possible. Ideally, today's COB, please. Thank you. You know, this hustle culture is blooming around professional websites and social media, such as LinkedIn, but also Facebook, Instagram, and even TikTok. And I'd be lying if I said that seeing those in my feed every single day has not put any sort of pressure on me. Especially considering that, such as many of you around here, I was brought up in the community of hustlers. We are told to go into university right after school, get a job as soon as possible to become a well-paid professional in our early 20s, ideally. But there's always someone who's more successful, more influential, someone who's just better. So we compare ourselves to people around us and also people totally unrelated to us from different parts of the globe living an absolutely different life. We live in the mode of get busy or die trying. And I did too. I was always doing pretty good in my professional and educational achievements, but I still was trying to catch up nonstop and was extremely hungry for more. What made me specifically angry, though, were the barriers that I could see all around. I could not grow professionally too quickly because I simply had no brain capacity to speed up. I was still on my learning curve. I couldn't be way ahead in my education because you have a study plan and it does put sort of limitations on you as well. I had no time to take up any new hobbies or even to invest into the ones that I already had, not so many though. I really had a hard time fitting a social occasion into my extremely tight schedule. All in all, I had no time, no capacity, but what I did have was some willpower. And this eventually sucked me into the whirlpool of artificial productivity. What is artificial productivity? Well, setting up those 4:30 a.m. alarm clocks every single day, including the weekend, of course. Writing down exaggeratedly long to-do lists every single day and having no rest. We'll sleep when we die, right? This is about hitting the score that you set up for yourself, whatever it takes. I did hit the score almost every time. Basically, I was so productive, but you know what? At some point, I didn't enjoy it anymore. Not even a little bit. I once stayed up late in the office alone, and all of a sudden, I just felt like I was crying. There were literal tears down my face. And nothing was wrong. I still loved my job. I enjoyed working out. Nothing specific even happened that day, but I just didn't feel anything else rather than exhaustion. This whole setup was not for me. I could not be doing this anymore, so I had to reflect on everything that I've been doing during these past years. I had to rethink the concept of productivity as such in my overall daily life as an ordinary human being, and I started investigating ways to fill my days with more meaning. I stuck to flexible scheduling, reduced the number of items on my to-do lists from the number that you cannot count using your fingers, your toes, your body hair even sometimes. And I stuck to 7 bigger ones per week to start with. I started preferring smaller attainable goals to trying to achieve the absolute most out of my days, weeks, months, years. I reduced the number of activities in my daily calendar. And most importantly, I took some rest and I didn't do anything at all. And after that, I actually achieved a little bit more than expected and felt so much better at the same time. And that's a simple short story of how I got out of a productivity cult. To be honest, I prefer to call this whole concept a cult rather than culture, because culture is more immature and civilized, and cults also tend to be tied to a specific person, a leader who spoon feeds it with ideas and nurtures a very specific mindset. In this case, as we're now discussing, productivity plays the role of this charismatic leader who finds all the right words and fascinates us and makes us blindly follow the trend rather than guiding us to see the direction of our journey, which might be, in the end, designed specifically for us. You know what? Let's look at the theory, though, okay? Very simply, just to grasp the idea, yeah? Cool. Basically, productivity, to put it in very simple words, is the relation between input and output per unit, right? So we want to reach a point different from the starting one while getting as much stuff done as possible. Let's imagine a situation. Your boss tells you to finish this Excel report table by the end of the day. They need it tomorrow in the morning, right? You receive this task, scrolling through TikTok, and you're like, oh. And you're like, I'm tired. I feel like taking a nap. So you take a nap, and it's a good one. It's a juicy one. You feel really, really well rested after that. And then you're like, oh God, this table. So you sprint before midnight, you make it down somehow, imagining half of the data, but you do tick the box. You might have to redo this later though, but it's okay, that's the question for tomorrow. So what do we have here? So you caught up with the latest TikTok trends, important. You had a really good nap, important as well. And you did complete the task that your boss gave you, right? That's it. Don't stress it. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Okay, no, of course I'm kidding. Hold on. Back to basics. We're going back to basics, yeah? So what we actually strive for is high productivity with relevant qualitative outputs, which is natural. It makes perfect sense, huh? But here is when the attractive, charismatic leader steps in. It shows us the vision of success, universal for all of us. It tells us that everybody can do literally anything if they just try hard enough. Sometimes even not mentioning the less exciting parts of life, catching a flu, falling out of life for a couple of weeks, or long, exhaustive job search. But you know, all this extra motivational stuff can sometimes be good and actually do the job. For example, when you need to take this last big step in completing a big, important goal, or when you're trying to fulfill a dream of your life and just lack a little bit of courage. So in brief, as short-term external support. And here is where you might ask me, Liza, this is cool, yeah? Great. Love your confidence, but what is wrong with being productive? And I'm going to tell you nothing, really. The issue is in how we define productivity in our individual, very specific cases. We see this definition. We do all around social media, TV, radio, your mom, everywhere. But there's so many questions involved. Let me just give you a few to think about, yeah? The first one being, how do we measure productivity in our overall daily life, where we don't really have any directly set KPIs? Does completing one big task count as being productive? Does completing 20 smaller ones, brushing your teeth, doing the dishes, does this count as being productive too? Even after you think about it, so many questions to answer, so many aspects to simplify, but even after that, you know what? Surprise, surprise, it still might not work. Because there's no one-size-fits-all in productivity. Days, moods, circumstances, tasks, goals, us, our capabilities, it's all so different day by day. Also, do you guys like cake? Do you like cake? I hope you do. The first bite, remember how it's always the best one. It brings you the most pleasure. And all the other ones are kind of just complementary to this first one. There's this risk of getting stuck in the whirlpool of achieving and not even enjoying your achievements anymore. Do we want this, really? Is it more important for you to feel productive or to be fulfilled and proud of yourself? I would like to invite you to conduct an experiment with me, an experiment on breaking the charisma of productivity. We can complete it in 4 steps, the first one being checking in with yourself. Now, later in the day and regularly, so that you know as exactly as possible how your mind and body feels. Ask yourselves a few questions, maybe just a couple one out of the list that I'm going to give you, or maybe all of them if you feel like it. How do you feel? What would have made you feel better? What do you want now and tomorrow? Do you like what you are now doing? Oh, I hope you do, because otherwise that would mean that I'm bad at public speaking. I don't want that. I don't want to hear that. Will what you're doing benefit you in the long run? What are your limits for today? And will you be trying to push them? Checking in is such an important part of it because it helps you stay on track and shows you that it's you who's in control. There's not somebody or something else telling you how to feel. It's all yours. And now we're approaching the next step, which is we're keeping it real. Let's try to substitute those long to-do lists with something shorter and more focused, maybe even splitting things into categories. Work-related, housework-related, maybe some personal things, calling your grandma, why not? Don't be too hard on yourself here. Stretch it when you feel like this is realistic for today and where it can actually bring some positive impact. There's one exercise that I could recommend, which is pretty simple list rewriting. And here's how it goes. You sit down, take a notebook, and write down, piece by piece, every single thing that you feel like you need or have to be doing. Without thinking much, let it all out. Everything that you've imagined for yourself, everything that you've been told, everything you think you need to be doing. And then you close the notebook. You take a deep breath. You get a cup of coffee. You pet your dog. If you have one, I'm so jealous, I really want one. And then you do this all over again, but without looking at the initial list and thinking more thoroughly. For each item, consider how much pleasure will it bring you to tick this thing out of your list. Is it actually you who wants this? And is it actually attainable for you in the end? Then we take some more rest, and then we write a new list without looking at the previous one and thinking even more thoroughly. And you can actually repeat it as many times as you wish. And quite surprisingly, you might find your list getting shorter because you will eventually get rid of the things that have less meaning to you than the others. And after we're done with little prioritization, we're approaching our step 3, which is bringing your main character out. Do what makes you feel best. Make an occasion out of every step you take. Let me bring you an example. I used to have breakfast every single day for like 7 to 10 minutes tops. I was in such a rush to start my day. I needed to get going, right? And once on a random day, I think it was a Tuesday, I decided to have breakfast for pleasure, for fueling myself in every possible way and not just for a quick carbs boost. So I took my time to cook it for myself and I ate it on my bed, listening to my favorite music. It was great, and such a simple task performed with a different approach completely changed my perception of the whole day. Try this as well with something else that pops up in your mind, such as something that you just have to do. These things can be controlled, right? Your breakfast, any sort of routine, this can be controlled. Sometimes a big change comes, becoming a parent, applying into university. But it's okay to fully rebuild your approach to your lifestyle when it feels natural to do so. But some of the other things can be controlled, so feel free to try out new things, adapt them to your lifestyle, and Don't hesitate to break the flows that just don't sit with you. Reveal your potential. You may have a little more or a little less energy today, and that's perfectly fine. But stand out when you can. You got it. Yay, you got it. It's gonna be fine, I promise you. Your story revolves around you. And one last step. Can you guys give me the drum roll? Thank you. Enjoy the ride, except that it's not gonna be smooth all the time. Embrace your failures. It makes you stronger, and in the end, it helps guide you forward. Don't hurry too much, though. You will have time, opportunities, and capacity to do more. Just make sure to stay on track with yourself. And one last piece of advice, if I may. If you don't enjoy it in general, this is most likely not working. So consider getting back a couple steps and maybe adapting some slight changes to your lifestyle. To conclude, I hope our experiment helps you build your journey organically while staying kind to yourself. It may not be perfect, but it's yours. And it's you who gets to decide, not something or someone else. As long as it feels like natural development and getting things done, I assure you you're okay. You're just on time. I hope you're fulfilled and every bite of cake tastes like the very first one. Thank you.